Lejla Pokvic is a lecturer from the University of Burch in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and she's the treasurer of the EAMBES, European Society of Biomedical Engineering, and a great expert of clinical engineering. And together, well, as the group of Ernesto Iadanza, they've been pioneering the use of machine learning in the field of clinical engineering and health technology management. Lejla, can you confirm you're online?
Yes, I'm here. Hello. Hi.
Yeah, she's online.
Yeah,
so if everything is working, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Pek. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present our work. I really enjoyed Professor Iadanza's lecture, and our work is, let's say, a good addition to the lecture that you have already heard. So today I'm going to speak about usage of artificial intelligence for medical device maintenance based on metrology. That's where the evidence comes from, and I will explain what we have done in the case of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So regarding the motivation, I will show you the framework development, how we developed a framework to collect the data on performance and safety of medical devices, and how we build up a solution from the data that we have received from healthcare institutions. So the motivation actually started by the fact that when we go in healthcare institution as a patient, we do rely on the tests. And those tests are actually measurements, whether we are taking our blood samples analysis, or we are taking some images of our body, etc., etc. But in the bottom, from the engineering perspective, those are all measurements. And when we go to a hospital as a patient, we just trust those measurements. Usually, we don't think about their reliability. And we have a situation where we go to different healthcare institutions and we obtain different measurement results of the same body parts or of the same condition. So what's different in that is that they use different medical devices for measurement of those parameters. And we get to ask ourselves, are measurements from medical devices same everywhere? We know that medical devices are produced according to the regulation, and they are produced the same for every part of the world. But yet we have different functioning in different kinds of the world. So when we are speaking about medical device, and the measuring function, we are interested in the accuracy of those medical devices. We want a medical device to be within technical specification every time it is used. But sometimes, unfortunately, that's not the case. So that's why we conclude that it's really important to take care about measurements of medical devices in healthcare institution, because it does matter how it is measured. Because when we take care of those measurements, we prevent serious failures and disasters, and we ensure that the purpose of the diagnostic or treatment procedure will be fulfilled. But another aspect from a patient point of view is that if we take care of measurements of medical device, we build the confidence of patients in the treatment or diagnosis that it is being provided. So Professor Iadanza mentioned this so far, in God we trust, all others must bring data. So I think this is some kind of mantra between the clinical engineers and our research groups. Yes, we do everything based on the data. As Professor Iadanza mentioned, if you don't have the data, then you're just guessing. And I introduced the concept of metrology so far in my speech. So why metrology? If we look at other fields of our activity, we rely on the concept of metrology in everyday activities, yet we do not think about it. For example, if you go to the grocery and buy apples, 1 kilogram of apples is the same whether we are sitting in China, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Italy, America, etc., etc., because that kilogram has a traceability to the SI unit, which is held as primary standard in Paris, France. So how we can transfer this concept of reliability and traceability into medical device measurements. So maybe if we ensure reliability of measurement device, we would decrease the number of incidents that are happening. Professor Yandanza mentioned these databases which contain adverse event reports. And unfortunately, in these databases, you often see injuries or that case scenarios caused by medical devices. But medical devices usually do not, they usually harm patients, but situations where they harm a user are not unknown also. So the concept of safety, as we all know, is really important. So statistics show that millions of injuries and thousands of deaths have been linked to faulty medical devices in the past decades. And that's why we are exploring different approaches to maintenance and management of medical device. And this has been emphasized through Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. So Goal 3 is aimed to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. And health emergencies such as COVID-19 showed that there is a global risk for healthcare sector worldwide, and we need to show our preparedness in these situations. So what we experienced in Bosnia and Herzegovina during COVID, and we have seen that in other countries in the world, is that there was a chaos regarding medical devices. No one knew how many, no one knew. We couldn't access that information quickly with just one click. So that's why I say no one knew how many medical devices for critical care, for example, mechanical ventilators we had, in what state they are, how many personnel do we have which know how to use those devices, etc., etc. So digitalization has entered all other fields of our activity, yet for medical devices in healthcare institutions in our country, I will say, and in other low and middle income countries, the management is still done based on the papers or through the inventory management system, which doesn't provide you this critical information. So that is why we propose to build a step-by-step solution using evidence as a measure of performance of medical devices. So when I talk about this solution, I always say the world has changed, so principles of ensuring safety and performance of medical device need to be adapted as well. We need to be open to incorporate new concepts which have proven validity in other fields for managing medical devices as well. So our concept relies on the evidence that I have mentioned, and that evidence is the data we collect from healthcare institutions. So Professor Yadanza spoke about key performance indicators and about benchmarking the data. So we find that also extremely important for the full management of medical devices. But we were concerned on performance of medical devices and just the performance. Can a medical device tell us something about itself, how it is being used in the healthcare institution, because it's being used differently in healthcare institutions worldwide. Even in a single healthcare institution, they use them in a different manner. I mean, they have the same purpose, but they are placed in different rooms with different environmental conditions. Different technicians work on that. The availability time is different, etc., etc. So how does that affect the overall performance? We all know that at some point medical devices go out of the technical specification, and we have a need for corrective and preventive maintenance. So can we predict that moment? Can we predict when we need to do a preventive and corrective maintenance just by the device data? And the protocol that I'm explaining here is actually legally adopted in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's called Legal Framework for Measurement for Medical Devices, for inspection of medical devices. It relies on 3 fields: medical devices, metrology, and standardization. And from every of these fields, we take a certain points. So medical devices are a backbone of healthcare systems, and that has been proven so many times. And I already mentioned that sometimes in these low middle income countries, as you have seen in the discussion following the Professor Yadanza presentation, they are put aside. No one takes care about them. No one puts an effort on maintaining them or gaining an understanding about their performance. So that's why we need protocols to ensure understanding of their performance. So as I mentioned, metrology is all over the places, yet we do not think about that. So we incorporated metrology in what we are doing. And when we are speaking about metrology, there are three distinctive fields. There is scientific metrology, which is linked to national metrology laboratories and national metrology institutes, which exist in every country. There is industry metrology that is usually related to calibration, and it is performed by accredited calibration bodies. And yet there is a legal metrology under which the scope of inspection can be placed. And this legal metrology inspections are performed by appointed bodies, which are actually inspection bodies. And the purpose of legal metrology, you can see that we have an international organization for legal metrology. So it's the mission of this organization is to enable economies to put in place effective legal metrology infrastructures to establish mutual confidence and harmonize the level of consumer protection worldwide. So in terms of healthcare, we can use this approach to establish mutual confidence and harmonize the level of patient protection worldwide. So we explored the tools from the metrology, which are uncertainty concept, traceability concept, and of course, calibration concept. Through the traceability, we build reliability of measurements. And this is a traceability pyramid. So I did this work as part of my PhD. I tried to link, I actually did link the measurements of temperature in infant incubator and relative humidity to the definition of SI units for temperature, humidity, and sound. So you see that none, except of temperature, none of these units is a standard unit. So you need to find a path to connect the unit for humidity to SI units, the unit for sound for SI units. So basically, in healthcare institution, you have a device under test. In this situation, it was an infant incubator. Each time we are doing an inspection, we are measuring a temperature and we are measuring a relative humidity. For those measurements, we are using calibrated etalons of temperature and relative humidity. So in order to build the reliability of a measurement, we calibrated our etalon by a working standard, which has greater accuracy. The working standard has been calibrated towards secondary standard, again, with a stated accuracy and uncertainty, and the secondary standard was calibrated to primary standard. So basically, a traceability is known path with stated accuracies or stated uncertainties, which then from the definition of SI unit can be linked to the measurement of temperature and relative humidity performed in infant incubator. Professor Yadanza tackled the point of standardization and standardization of protocols for collecting the data. That we have seen important in this protocol, in this framework as well. So I wouldn't have any value of the data which are collected differently. So we needed to establish a standardized procedures. We used for measurement of the parameters, when we define which parameters of medical devices we would measure, we use basic safety standards such as ISO's EAC 60601. And we also use product safety standards, and we used recommendations from the manufacturer, etc., etc. But for the collection, ISO 17020 procedures were set up. So for every medical device, and we have 10 different groups of medical devices from which we are collecting the data as they are being used in healthcare institutions in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So the inspection body is accredited according to the standard ISO 17020, and that builds also a reliability in the work this inspection body is performing. So you see how these standards incorporate in the framework. Inspection body is working according to the ISO 17020. Calibration of etalons used by inspection body are performed by ISO 17025, and all other relevant standards in the field of medical device performance and safety were used for definition of conformity assessment rules. So as a result of an inspection, you have a pass or fail conclusion. So if the device complies with set up technical criteria during the inspection, it is marked as pass. If any of the parameter is out of specified range, that device is then marked as fail. This is the overall look of the legal metrology framework. Again, I'm emphasizing this is being used in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and from this framework, we are actually collecting the data. So that is how this is connected together. More about this legal metrology framework has been published in a book by Springer, Inspection of Medical Devices. So if you have the access to this book, you can read more about the procedures for collection of the data from defibrillators, anesthesia machines, ECG devices, infant incubators, etc., etc. In this way, with this framework in action, we are actually able to ensure medical device measurement reliability as we keep the traceability chain in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So this is how it is linked together in Bosnia and Herzegovina. You have government institutions involved, you have inspection body involved, you have calibration bodies, National Institute of Metrology as well, and as end users, we have healthcare institutions and patients. Healthcare institutions benefit from knowing whether their medical devices are safe and accurate for usage, and patients benefit from improved quality during the diagnostic or therapeutic activities performed on them during their visit to healthcare institution. Bosnia and Herzegovina is not the only country using this framework. Also, it's been employed in Serbia. Another inspection body has been established, and it is performing measurements in their healthcare sector in the same manner they are performed here. Again, the national rule books were published with defined technical specifications, and now two inspection bodies are collecting the data from healthcare institution. So in order to be an inspection body, you need to be appointed from the government to do this kind of work. Then you need to be accredited laboratory, and VERLAB in Bosnia and Herzegovina is also certified certified in terms of quality management system according to the ISO 9001. So the goal of every inspection procedure is to determine its output error. And that is actually what the inspection is. We determine that error in measurement of medical device does not exceed the maximum permissible error in use. For this, we use a procedure. So first, electrical safety inspection, and then performance inspection. We do a visual inspection of a medical device, and we test the device parameters as they have been defined. So in order to collect the data, for sure, we needed a software or connected with the database, and that is how we developed our eLab system. So we keep track of inspections performed in healthcare institutions. For Bosnia and Herzegovina, eLab system was customized, and it is called eVerlab. And here I have a simple video. It's a little bit longer, but it shows you how this simple software actually works. This is the national database of all medical devices which are being currently used in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So we, as an inspection body, we have the ability to overview the devices used by healthcare institution, or we have ability to overview how many devices of a single manufacturer has been used in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have the ability then to analyze this data, to analyze it by healthcare institutions, by type of medical devices, by manufacturers, by the types within a single manufacturer. Also, this software is being used by healthcare institutions. We didn't want to print out all of these reports and to send them to healthcare institutions. Rather, we granted them access to this software, and they can access their reports of medical devices every time from every place within simple password and username. So as you can see, they have all the information on the performance parameter. Yet this is not so if we move from the regulatory aspect that they need to have a certificate because the law asks that from them, it's not so interesting for them to see these performance results. But for us as a researchers, these performance results and safety results are very important, as I mentioned at the beginning, because we want to see if we can predict from data obtained from a single medical device when it will fail. So as the trend in medicine is going to personalized medicine, we are exploring a personalized management approach to every medical device. Of course, for such, you need a huge database. And this system is something that enables us to collect the data. This system has been on for the past 7 years, and now we have a lot of data for different medical device groups and different types within these medical device groups. So as I said, the video is a bit long, but I think that you have gained an understanding of how we collect the data from healthcare institutions. These are some results up to 2020. So you see that we had a rise of the number of inspections performed per year, and now we are reaching to some continuity over the years. So we have established a good base for collection of the data. Also, what we have recognized is that while inspection body is performing these yearly inspections, we see the decrease in faulty rate in medical devices which are being detected, and that is because the clinical engineering or technical departments within the healthcare institution somehow raise the awareness. So now when they know that someone is going to inspect them, they perform these preventive maintenance, because they sometimes in some situations they do not want to have fail as a result of inspection of a medical device. Also, this is beneficial for the management of healthcare institutions, because in this way they are ensuring that they are using accurate and safe medical devices. Over the years, it was really interesting seeing which medical devices groups are more reliable. So we detected that we have less problems within some groups, while some groups are really being very critical. And when I say really critical, I mean groups such neonatal and pediatric incubators, mechanical ventilators, or sometimes infusion pumps and perfusers. While you can see that as a result of our work, we managed to increase the reliability of anesthesia machines, so a significant decrease of faulty rate was noticeable. Of course, this protocol in Bosnia and Herzegovina proved to have some cost savings by medical institutions. As Professor Yadanza mentioned, before introducing this framework 7 years ago, we had a situation where manufacturers or distributors actually were the one doing the inspections, and then the one saying that corrective or preventive maintenance is needed, and performing that maintenance, and then giving a guarantee that something will last for example, 6 months, even when we know that it can last for 1 year, and etc. So what is the conclusion? If you don't have the data on performance, you're just guessing, and you cannot convince anyone that that needs to be done. So now we have the data from the two laboratories, and this is how the data is being collected. So a technician performs the measurement on every single medical device. I know it is time consuming, but when we reach to enoughly large data set, we would be able to build a solution that would replace a technician doing this work. Now we have a data repository, and we are using medical device performance data and the information on medical device failure to build predictive computerized maintenance management system. So the data comes from the inspection body, and we are building the system. When we're building this system, we ask ourselves how to understand the present, manage the change, because for sure everything is changing, and you have seen in previous presentations that approach to clinical engineering is also changing. So how we can predict the future in order to increase quality of the care that we are providing in healthcare. We are living in the age of AI, so for sure we need to go in that direction, specifically because it has been pointed out as a key interest area from the regulators. Here you can see what the Council of the European Union in 2017 published. So in response to the common challenges which are related to the health system sustainability, it's very important to consider these innovative approaches. So how to use artificial intelligence to transform and continue to improve these fields. Of course, application of artificial intelligence is not unknown for medical devices, but it's concerning medical devices. We want to predict diagnosis. We want to predict the treatment. We want to predict the patient outcome, etc., etc. Here, we are speaking about application of artificial intelligence for management and maintenance of medical devices, for predicting the failure. So, as I said, collecting the data. Now, these slides are a little bit repetitive, so I will move on. But what we are investigating is a paradigm shift from reactive maintenance, where something happens and you go and correct, into predictive post-market surveillance. How you can use all the benchmarking existing data, how can you use the performance data about medical devices, which you have learned during a certain time period, in order to predict the behavior. So how you can turn the big data, which is existing, and Professor Yaganza explained his approach into this big data, into smart data by using machine learning or other tools in artificial intelligence. So far, we have explored the usage of machine learning algorithms and artificial neural networks for this, and we have been successful in predicting some features related to this. Now we're working on expanding the number of parameters which we collect from the healthcare institutions, just to follow up with the analysis and to optimize the number of parameters that are needed for reliable prediction. This was our work on the defibrillators. So basically, we use currently device-related information, electrical safety parameters, and performance parameters in order to predict the defibrillator performance in the future period. So here is our work on machine learning. As I said, we use different algorithms. Here you can see the 5 of them which we usually use. This is what's our final goal: to have an expert system based on artificial intelligence that can be placed by every medical device to collect the data, to send the data on cloud, so we can use the data to predict the performance of medical devices. This is a concept that we are exploring, an innovation concept that we are exploring. And if there are someone in the room which finds this interesting, I'm always open to hear a new idea on the approach, or even to establish a cooperation if you're doing something similar in the field. We propose a next generation of medical device management systems, which can be tailored to different environments, but which would give 3 distinctive features currently missing in the management systems. So medical device predictive maintenance plan based on the measurements from healthcare institutions. What is really important, medical device maintenance budget, but optimized budget based on artificial intelligence, overlooking the needs of medical devices in healthcare institution, and of course, a daily medical device performance status. So it would incorporate the existing benchmarking data, it would collect the new data from the healthcare institution, and that is why I say it is tailored, because technicians and users from healthcare institution will be able to use this system for management and not only for the maintenance. So as I said, this is work in progress. We are exploring other features which can affect the reliability of the predictions, such as frequency of usage, environment condition, temperatures, spare part change interval, basically all other things that Professor Iadanza mentioned in his previous presentation. What is the goal? The goal is to have reliable measurements for medical devices. In simple words, if medical devices are produced in the same way, to perform in the same way all over the world, then to build a system which would enable this, so that you don't have error injuries and that situations increasing more in some part of the world, and yet in another you have decrease in that. So somehow to offer a tool for all technicians, for all clinical engineering departments, to be able to do a predictive maintenance and management of medical devices. Not related to the topic that I'm presenting today, but I'm using the opportunity to invite you all to the joint event of Medicon conference and CMB Big conference, which will take place in September next year here in Sarajevo. So I hope to see many of you attending this school also in Sarajevo for this event. Thank you very much for the attention, and now I'm ready for the questions if you have them.
Thank you, Lejla, for the very interesting speech. And before asking if there is any question in the room, let me add that Bosnia is a middle-income country. So that's an application of health technology management using novel tool in a middle-income country, no? So we every time say low and middle-income countries. That's how you can foster the future, starting from innovation in a middle-income country.